This is Bill Kimler, co-host of the Black, White, and Blue in the South podcast. This Halloween, stand out from the crowd with ZJZDesigns.com. Their brand new limited edition spooky prints are here to haunt your wardrobe in the best way possible. With 5 new chilling designs, you'll be ready for trick-or-treating, haunted houses, and everything this spooky season has to offer. Whether you're getting festive for the holidays or just looking for unique, high-quality designs to up your style game, ZJZDesigns.com has you covered. Shop now at ZJZDesigns.com and discover the t-shirts that'll make you stand out in any season. Don't get caught without the coolest Halloween t-shirt. Grab yours before they disappear. ZJZDesigns.com.
Barrett again from the All About Nothing podcast, and what the pod was that to tell you that late fall registration is open now till October 7th for several sports. Sunday at M Avenue in West Columbia, Super Rec Same Team Pitch Kickball, where your team pitches to itself. Registration also open now through October 7th for Tuesday night sand volleyball at Pollywogs on Woodley Way off St. Andrews Road. As well, hit fall hard with Wednesday co-ed flag football at Bray Field. Finally, for late fall, 7-week Tuesday night bowling is open now through October 23rd at Bolero in Casey. 22 team slots available for teams of 6, so sign up now as these team spaces will fill up and sell out. Check out everplaysocial.com for more information and registration. Again, everplaysocial.com. Everplay Sports and Social League. Play, socialize, and have fun.
The All About Nothing podcast may have language and content
that isn't appropriate for some.
Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, Nothingers, to another episode of the All About Nothing podcast. This is episode number 228. I am Barrett Gruber.
I am Matt Vilardebo.
Zach, would you do that one more time just so people know you're here? Zach's been away for almost a month. And he's acknowledging it, but I don't think he understands. It is almost a month because I recorded 2 episodes of the Hall of Horrors, because one episode, the audio was so crappy that you couldn't hear anybody. And then the second episode we recorded to replace that one, the audio was also not great. I went ahead and published that one anyway after I did as much work to it as I could. But I'm beginning to think that the Hall of Horrors is actually haunted because there was such an immense level of frustration to trying to record there.
And then trying to say Hall of Horrors, but he's saying
Am I saying Hall of Horrors?
Nah, I mean, I hear horrors.
Horrors.
I struggle with that word
Horrors.
too. My tongue gets like real lazy on that repetitive.
He was not at Dolly Parton's brothel.
Hall of Horrors. Oh, is it horrors?
Yeah.
There's no A in it. Horrors.
Listen,
Horrors.
I hear
now I hear what the English language.
Now I hear what I'm doing. It was the Hall of HORRORS. Horrors. Horrors.
Alexa,
horrors.
stop.
Okay, I'll do better. It's the Hall of Horrors. And then we recorded an episode last week with Donald Brock and Leora Green. Thanks for them being on the show. That actually went like 2.5 hours of recording, so I turned it into 2 episodes. Works out really well for me. Thanks to Donald Brock Jr. and Leroy Green. Donald Brock, of course, Soda City Comic Con. We did a whole recap of what went on with the Soda City Comic Con as well. We have the Coastal Comic Con in Wilmington coming up in March, which we have been expressly told that we have to be there for. And then the Boardwalk Comic Con, which will be in October of 2025 over in Myrtle Beach, which
I genuinely hope you told Brock we want unfettered access.
Yeah.
If we have to be there, then the bar is unfettered access.
Yeah, I'm also working on trying to get us rooming. So yeah, because I don't want to pay for that. I mean, if we're there as talent, then I feel like they should take care of that, right? Work it into the deal.
Well, it's a March con, right?
March 1st and 2nd. March 1st and
All
2nd,
right,
Wilmington Convention Center.
My wife is due in April, at the end of April. So
Okay.
I'm still gonna stick close to my phone. Yeah.
Good. Okay, good. Please subscribe. Also here, Matt Vilardebo, candidate for South Carolina House District 26. We're going to talk to Matt about some of the campaign and such.
Oh, yeah.
Please subscribe and share the show. That's how we get new listeners. Also, if you could, please consider supporting the show financially by visiting our website and clicking on the support link. If you can't do that, please drop us a review, hit the 5 stars, give us a thumbs up, or leave a comment. All of that helps drive our show higher up in the ratings on all of these podcast platforms. Also want to mention Everplay Sports and Social late fall sign up is going on now. 7-week bowling at Bolero in Casey ends October 23rd. Sign up now at everplaysocial.com for details and registration. You can do that. You want to sign up now because it's definitely going to fill up. It's a 7-week this season coming up for late fall, and we are now taking up all but 2 lanes of the of the whole Bolero in Casey. So
wow.
Definitely show up.
Cool.
Definitely sign up. So let me see.
Can we talk about what we all had to witness last night?
Did
Except for you, Barrett?
I did. I watched it today.
So real quick before I want to hijack the podcast real quick.
Please
for
feel
a very
free.
special moment.
Oh God.
I've got a little present here for my buddy Barrett and my campaign manager. It's a Matt Vilardebo challenge coin.
Oh my God.
It's kind of hard to see, but it's got the Matt Vilardebo campaign logo, and it says "Experience Proven Ready" and "Thank you for your support." And on the back, it says "Thank you #SC26."
That.
And Barrett has been working doing this gratis, and if the least I can do is give him some sentimental little knick-knacky thing to show my love, appreciation, and respect for him, I would like to do that. So here you go, sir.
I appreciate that.
And that'll be a keepsake for you to remember this campaign season, brother.
That is really cool.
Nice.
It's in plastic.
Yeah,
It's a real coin. You can take it out. It's a big, heavy coin.
That is
made out of brass.
That is really, really cool.
It's a PGA 10.
I wish I hadn't used red lettering. It's kind of hard to read, but you know.
No, yeah, but this is really cool. And in the wake, now you did this before Donald Trump came out with his new silver coin.
Oh yeah, I mean,
okay.
I mean, mine aren't bigly.
That's really cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, brother.
That's really neat.
the best challenge.
Maybe the best challenge coins ever made.
I think that's a really neat token, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome, brother.
It is. I will admit that sometimes I'll get a text message from early in the morning from Matt, as I've already been on at work for like 2 hours with my offshore, and by the time I get a text message from Matt, I usually read it and go, okay, let me see when I can figure out how when I can do this for him, because it's I'll say you have to keep the website up to date. You have to make sure.
I've also seen Barrett scream and bite the steering wheel in his car.
But we're not driving anywhere, and Zach insists on being behind me. It's weird. But yeah, no, it's campaigning in South Carolina, especially if you're a Democrat, is not an easy thing to do. There's the Republican Party gets a pretty easy ride.
Oh yeah,
and you have to stay relevant.
Yes, you do, and you sometimes have to generate relevancy to stay relevant. So, there's
generating relevancy does not mean you make up stories about people in Ohio eating their pets.
Correct. I have made up 0 stories to remain relevant. That is for sure.
Mm-hmm.
No, we've even had to fight off stories.
Yeah, I mean, good Lord. So, yeah, I know that debate last night. Just to round back to that, holy shit.
Yeah,
you guys weren't supposed to fact check.
That was like way more chill than I thought it would be, though. I mean, overall, I was underwhelmed.
I will. So I'll say this, and I think that, and I still have doubts of J.D. Vance's Republicanism. He is a good actor that fills the role of whatever role it is he's trying to fill.
Yeah,
and for the last 2.5 years, he's been filling the role as a Republican from Ohio.
Well, he had to rub all the crusty shit from Donald's ass off his nose before he went out.
Yeah.
it started to build up as he spoke. There was times where he's just playing the part that he's supposed to play.
Well, and he got picked because Trump knew he would show up at that vice president debate and skirt answering directly if Trump lost the election. Mm-hmm. So this guy wasn't picked for his integrity or like him being like some maverick. He was picked because he had fallen in line and toe the line.
Well, and then Tim talked about gun violence and his son being witness to gun violence, and Vance was like, "I'm sorry, your son had to see that." Trump probably goes, "What is he doing?" He's like, "That's called humility and
yeah." Trump can't recognize what he just saw. Oh my gosh, what did he just say?
Why? Yeah,
I suspect that every time that Vance and Walz said, and Vance probably agrees, and Walz probably agrees, every time they did that little exchange, I guarantee you that Trump was shitting his pants. Because there's no way that he wants his Republican VP candidate to ever acknowledge that there's any close ties or there's any agreement on
cordiality.
Yeah.
He's red, weird. He's blue. They've done mix it, make green. Like, why are we doing this? Like, imagine a world where people could agree on things even though they don't align the same way.
It used to happen.
Yeah, it used to happen all the time. And Tim Walz talked about the border security, how there was a bipartisan effort to get this bill passed.
Yeah.
And then it was never really truly attacking J.D. Vance. He came back on things he said, but even it was more like the dude you're running with, the guy holding your leash right now, is the problem.
Yeah.
That's what he kept pointing to. And when J.D. Vance tried to do the same thing, it kind of came off across hollow.
I want to ask a little bit about the Kamala Harris's, I guess the misconception from the right is that she's inexperienced, that she has no idea what she's doing, that why hasn't she done more during the 4 years that she had as vice president? I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but I thought that maybe it would have been appropriate to potentially pull up the Constitution and actually look to see what it is that the Constitution says that the vice president's job is. And basically the vice president is at the beck and call of the president. And that's it. The vice president doesn't get to set agenda. It doesn't get to make any sort of any sort of policy. Now they get to they assist, I'm sure, because they're part of the cabinet that they're in on, unless you're John Adams, and then Washington basically screwed John Adams.
He kept. That's the part of the emptiness that Vance had was. Well, she could have done something now. There could have been executive. Like, the vice president doesn't make these executive orders. They are literally, like you said, Barrett, at the beck and call, directed by the president to do what they need to do. Their power is not all-reaching. There's executive orders that the VP could do that are in line with like what the president can do. It was just kind of just nonsense every time. He was like, well, she could have been fixing it now.
Well, what
does he think the role is at the end of the day?
Yeah, and up until Dick Cheney, really, in the modern era, vice presidents are pretty inconsequential. Yeah. I mean, if something, heaven forbid, happens to the president and the VP needs to step up and be president, that's different. But even then, they don't really do much of consequence until that tap on the shoulder comes.
The VP is really chosen by the presidential candidate
to help them win the election.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
The whole idea.
Who's to say that Trump gets elected and he doesn't dump J.D. Vance in a hole?
Oh yeah,
whatever. Like,
right, and that's the other thing.
Go ahead.
The president can't just fire the vice president. It doesn't work. The vice president is elected into that office, and in order to be removed from that office, the vice president has to be impeached. Or they invoke the 25th Amendment on the vice president. It's not the president can't fire the vice president. That's why Trump couldn't get rid of Pence before he
tried to have him killed by an angry mob.
I thought that was
the quickest route.
let me tell you, I thought that was pretty outstanding what Walz did to Vance on he said, but that's why he was like, that's why he's here. That's why JD Vance is here, is because Donald Trump didn't, or Pence didn't go ahead and certify the election.
And then the whole non-answer part. We all saw that and like, of course he's not going to answer.
No.
There's not a single person in Trump's camp that is still there that would answer that question as it should be answered.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
January
way.
6th was an abomination. The vote should have been certified. Was the election stolen? No.
Donald Trump lost that election, fair and square.
Yeah. Was he a loser? He was absolutely a loser by millions. Million-time loser.
I am dumbfounded. So one of the we can talk about the vice presidential debate a little bit more, I think, but I think one of the things I wanted to ask you both about is, how many times do you come in, I guess, in contact or in someone else's realm that gives you misinformation about things as far as the election, or Trump versus Harris, that sort of thing, where when you start to give them correct information that debunks what they've said, that they then say, well, I don't know anything about that.
Well, you meet that massive wall of cognitive dissonance, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing. No, you can rationalize it and believe in your head for a minute that it's true, but accepting it's true, the reality is too harsh to go ahead and lie on that path. So they just keep at what they've already been doing. That's what I always run into.
Yeah, and I can tell you that I'm at that point in my life where I don't really get into it with folks once they start dropping like the talking points and just parrot back what they're hearing, from Trump directly or from whatever media outlet is, amplifying his voice. I'm there to have like real discussions and things like that. So I don't have any qualms with basically saying, hey, listen, I don't know if you're really up for this conversation with me. I think, you're going to find yourself getting frustrated with me quickly because I just got no time for it anymore. I used to be that guy where it's like somebody would say something wrong or just completely, and I'd be like, what are you talking about? That is not even remotely true. Mm-hmm. And then they would just move on to the next, talking point. And it's running into a wall.
I think that's one of the things that I run into the most, whether it's, in-laws, that sort of thing, those conversations where I'll get a text message that has a link to a video that says that that when Harris is elected that she's gonna get us into war, that we're or just other facts that they have come up with, and then they've substantiated their facts because there's someone on YouTube that's got a fair number of viewers, and now they've solidified their opinion because there's somebody else out there with their opinion. But when I have those types of conversations, I keep giving thumbs up. When I have those types of conversations, the thing that let's see, will it give me a heart?
I literally only did it because I'm on the iPhone.
I can't believe my campaign manager just made hard hands.
There you go. See the hearts? But I almost always try to
Parkinson's hands.
Oh gosh. I
try to recognize my apple.
Whenever I hear something like I don't know anything about that. Whenever I hear that, it's an attempt to still hold on to their opinions without having any information. And it's really disappointing because but what I have started to combat back with is, well, then you should research that. You have an opinion about this thing or this subject, and you're portraying as though you know something about it because you're telling me or you're sending me a text message of a video or whatever. And I'm simply expressing to you, you might be being misled. You should research that.
Yeah.
It's that whole like causation doesn't equal correlation or whatever. Remember the Zeitgeist films that used to come out? Like they done like two of them, and then
I saw one of them for sure. Yeah.
It gave birth to 9/11 truthers, and you're just like,
yes,
the utter just insincerity of making an argument after those films is ridiculous. But that's all they have, right? Like the whole Donald Trump movement birthed QAnon, birthed Zeitgeist AI, but it's like I don't even know how to put it. It's just the most ridiculous shit that Peter in fucking the Philippines is typing on Reddit or 4chan. That's the kind of thing that they're susceptible to, and it connects dots, and you don't have to think about it. So the whole entire Trump campaign is based on face value. Don't connect dots. Kind of the whole don't think. Just listen.
Here's the truth as we're providing it to you. Eat up.
Right, exactly. And that is at the end of the day what do you call it? It's a propaganda. That's just that they're buying purely into.
I like that you call it the zeitgeist when it's their finger is just off the pulse.
Yeah, right here by the pulse. Would you like a chocolate covered pretzel?
So I do want to share one thing. So yesterday was my dad's 84th birthday.
Yeah.
And I talked to him, and he went out of his way to tell me how much he respects and believes in my campaign because of the sort. He's like, all your social media posts are so incredible, Matthew. He just can't get over how like prolific I am as a campaigner. And he just loves to hear what I have to say. He's like, you're so common sense, and you rationalize things like you're trying to explain, why you replace motors, or like my dad does what I do work wise. So he used some technical terms, but it was really touching. I mean, because he's never said anything remotely close to that since I started running for office.
That's awesome.
And I mean, my dad is like 24/7 Fox News, all in with Trump. So
is he still all in with Trump?
I don't care to have that conversation with him.
That's fair. I do want to say this. We are only a few weeks away from the election, November 5th. Here in South Carolina, early voting is going to be going live on October 21st. It'll go through November 2nd, which means I think November 2nd is the Saturday before the election. So polls are going to be open on both Saturdays before the election. The other thing I definitely want to make sure everybody knows is they need to check their voter registration, because if you don't know, then you're liable to make things confusing for yourself when it comes to the election. And so you can check your voter registration. You can go to in South Carolina, you can go to scvotes.gov.
Yeah.
Or if you want, you can go to our website, theallaboutnothing.com/voter, and you can check your national registration. You can check nationally your registration there. But the most important thing is make sure that you have a plan for voting. My suggestion is going to be, and is going to continue to be, vote early, because it's going to be so much easier on election day. I can guarantee you that the voting precincts are going to be slammed.
Yep.
We are going to see a very large turnout. I don't know if it's going to be because it's going to be a bunch of Democrats finally showing up to vote, or if it's going to be that Republicans are also going to be showing up to vote. I still believe that Kamala Harris is going to run away with this.
Yeah.
I'm not endorsing her as a podcaster, because we know what happens when I endorse candidates 100% of the time.
Mr. Ott won, so we're good there.
Who Mr. Ott, Russell? Yeah, he did win his primary.
That was a squeaker too, man.
But he was on this podcast and gave him that.
That's right, man.
He got the nothing bump.
Rub.
He got the nothing bump. Let me see. Also, go online as well, whatever state you're in, or just search on Google. Go ahead and look at your sample ballots. All of the ballots across the country are now ready for people to look at their sample ballots specific to your precinct, so that you know exactly what it is that's going to be on the ballot. So when you walk in there, you know what you're doing. You can go in there, you can vote for the candidates you need to. I think the only thing that's going to hose things up for people is school board, because in South Carolina, that's a nonpartisan position, even though the legislature, the Republicans definitely want to make it a partisan position. But I guess so. The attempt, what you need to do is research your candidates. One of the really nice things, though, is the League of Women Voters in a bunch of the counties, at least here in South Carolina, have actually gone through and researched who the school board candidates are and what it is that they stand for, or what it is that they're running on.
The hell out of that place.
Yeah, and I can tell you, like in York County, there's tons of opportunities to like vet the candidates for the various school board positions. There's forums. Tomorrow night, there's a forum for the school board candidates. I've had school board candidates in Fort Mill reaching out to me. There's ways to know. I mean, and Moms for Liberty loves telling you who their people are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's the sort of future you see for public education, you know, there's ways to know who your Moms for Liberty candidates are because they love telling you about them.
Well, at least in South Carolina, we took a big step in that direction by Ellen Weaver enacting the partnership with PragerU.
Oh, yeah.
PragerU, of course.
What's his name? Don Prager?
Is that what? I don't know.
I didn't do a deep dive into Prager, just but you know, I love that Representative Jermaine Johnson is asked for, you know, all this freedom of information stuff from her office about this relationship with Prager. And, you know, it's hard sometimes having to read, you know, people supporting this. I know where we live, we have a recently elected state representative who's already sided with the Freedom Caucus, and reading her content as she like takes a victory lap on this PragerU deal is just disgusting.
What is I look at his name? Y'all are taking away because I'm on my phone is now recording me. So he is an apologist. He's a Christian apologist, and he has been destroyed. So like he's the easiest apologist that anyone gets. If he's like, you want to debate a non-Christian, that non-Christian, atheist, whatever you want, will just flatline him every time because he makes no sense. He preaches old world Christianity for the 6,000 year thing, all of it. This cannot happen. We cannot go to Louisiana standards of public education. Like, it has to stop.
Are we worried we're going to bottom out on the list of worst schools in the nation?
I remember
this is the tailpipe dragging and throwing sparks and making a noise through your neighborhood.
Yeah,
I remember like saying something on a Freedom Caucus post or something from maybe Josiah Magnuson on Twitter, you know, telling them they have no business, you know, doing these victory laps on education. And his reply was, well, we've gone up 2 spots in the last 10 years.
What can we do to mess that up?
I was like, oh my goodness.
Well, just out of curiosity, because what is something that I guess that our school system here in South Carolina looks at a partnership with PragerU as far as providing the curriculum now for the school systems, public school systems. What is the benefit to the state of South Carolina for something like this? And try to be not objectionable, but try and be, you know, is there a potential benefit?
I know what is told is that, you know, it's like they have like financial tools and like money management things that they're going to offer in the schools. So yeah, that.
So when I was in, I was just going to say when. Okay. No, go ahead. I was just going to say when I was in high school, I took home ec. I took a year of home ec, and it wasn't just, you know, learning how to bake and learning how to sew. We did do some of that, but a lot of what it was focused on was the ability for you as a high school student graduating, going to college potentially, but basically the idea of going out on your own. You would have the soft skills that you would need in order to balance a checkbook, budget for groceries and rent and things like that. That was really the whole idea of the home ec program. And but I don't think they do home economics in school now.
Now they have like a life skills that they're teaching, and I believe that passed just like 2 years ago here.
But yeah.
I for me, it was Scouts. I went to Catholic school, so there was no way they were going to have home ec at a school in an environment that still was holding on to those like traditional gender roles. So.
Yeah.
But
I
Scouts,
taught the balance of checkbooks in daycare.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding.
you did.
Zach had some very irresponsible parents, and somebody had to step in. No, I'm kidding.
It was like Baby Finster from Bugs Bunny.
They literally took us to a bank, and we all got our own fake checkbooks. And they literally showed us, like, every time you wrote a check, you had to write it down in the ledger, and they would give you, like, $1,000 amount. And so we learned, like, if you wrote a check for something, we would all go buy things from each other. And when you wrote a check, you had to write how much it was for, and then add it up into the back ledger. Everybody's seen the back ledger checkbook. Please, if you're older than 30.
I'm impressed you have, young man.
36, man. All this checkbook ready.
You were young.
I'm 36.
I am 51.
36. Yeah. This is PragerU is the same, it was a few years ago, but there was the video of Christopher Columbus basically saying that that slaves benefited from being slaves because that means they weren't killed.
Yeah.
And it's like being a slave is better than being killed.
Of course, there were some upset natives.
Yeah,
what the actual heck am I watching here?
What was it, Amistad? Toby did a good one for you, sir. Real good one. Yeah.
I got to go back and watch Roots. Fantastic.
Was that Roots?
No, I think that was Amistad.
Amistad, I think it was totally good. Real good.
I want to bring up some of the stuff that Donald Trump has said recently. One of the things that he's
still tweeting, is he?
Yeah, truthing. He's truthing. These are all truths. One of the things that he said recently was,
all hell's breaking loose at Zach.
Zach will be back in a minute. So one of the things that Trump said recently was that he had a better beach bod than Joe Biden. Did you hear this?
No. What? I mean,
this is something during one of his recent rallies. He said
he uttered this out loud in front of a crowd.
Yeah, this was on mic on purpose. But one of the recent ramblings of a 80 or 78 or whatever, how old he was?
78, yeah.
One of the recent ramblings of a Donald Trump was that he had a better beach bod than Joe Biden. And I think this speaks a lot to how Donald Trump handles his rallies. I think that the world would be a better place if, and I'm just putting this out there, if we were to potentially offer Donald Trump a spot on big media to have his own podcast. Is it possible that we could potentially pull him out of the race just to give him a weekly or bi-weekly, maybe even 3 times a week, just give him a podcast space to put something out there where it's, he can do it in front of a crowd if he wants.
Yeah, crank that.
Imagine.
Set him loose.
But it just feels like this would just make more sense. It doesn't seem necessary. Another thing that he says is that Kamala Harris has mental problems, that she's mentally deficient. She said he recently said that Joe Biden became mentally ill. Kamala Harris was born with mental illnesses.
At least he's acknowledging that mental illness is something that is biological and genetic.
Yeah, that there's legitimacy to it.
There's that's progress for him. But yeah, I mean, man, that guy, the things he says, to be able to just, it's shocking to me as a local candidate. I get called on every little thing I say and put out there. And this guy is just like flat out lying and just saying the most absurd, like like I guess maybe because I'm older and I was raised by a boomer dad, I've always been taught that like a gentleman, if you were, comports themselves in a certain way.
Sure. And
you're not like, you shouldn't be like openly expressing like envy and jealousy and like making weird comparisons to other men. It's very strange for somebody of his age group and generation to see this behavior.
It is a and it's something that you don't see from many of the Democrats, at least as far as I've seen.
Yeah,
but
no.
you don't see this victimism.
Correct.
There is this constant act of being a victim. I mean, even, and you don't have to comment on it, but even in your campaign, the gentleman that you're running against has expressed things that make him feel like he is a victim. And people put themselves in these positions on their own. You run for office because you feel like there's some good that you can do, and that you feel like your voice carries better than some others, and that you can bring change to your location. But then you have other people that run for office, and then it's woe is me. Why are they coming after me for this? Why are they coming after me? There's on the Republican side, there is this and then even from some of their supporters, there's this act of I am a victim. You're calling me out on things that I said last year or the year before or 10 years ago. You're telling people that I've done these things, and I don't understand that, because when they come after you, or if they come after Vice President Harris, there's not any of that return. There's no retort that comes back that says, you're hurting my feelings. Why are you doing this? What did I do to you? In your campaigning, done a lot of door knocking. There has been you've canvassed and had some volunteers canvassing. What has your experience been with the canvassing in Fort Mill?
It's been great. I mean, I'm fortunate with this election cycle that I only need to go knock Democrat doors. I just don't need to go convince anybody. The numbers are there for us. So it's been positive. I mean, when people are home, they're happy to see me. Most remember me. And most are going to straight party ticket vote. I'm not always the biggest fan of that mentality necessarily, but this election year, it works to my benefit tremendously. So, I mean, the Kamala rub is real. I mean, that definitely, boosted every campaign. I mean, even probably people that just aren't in this are seeing improvements, and, money's coming in. People are stepping up, but more importantly, the door knocking. People love that interaction, that personal. You hear a lot of, I've never met anybody running for office until you came to my house to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
So
when I came up there and canvassed, which I need to again, you sent me up to the edge of South Carolina. I literally had to drive into North Carolina to get to the neighborhood that was in South Carolina. I could see Carowinds from a distance. But yeah, it was similar when back in 2016 and 2020, I canvassed for Bernie Sanders. In 2020, I canvassed and did phone calling for for Joe Biden. And it was always a good interaction. It was never a situation where I was going to somebody and trying to convince them to vote for the person that I was telling them to vote for. Canvassing has never been that for me. Canvassing for me has always just been, hey, the election's coming up, got a plan to vote. If you don't have a plan to vote, these are some resources that you can speak with, or you can call, or I can take your name and number and they can get in touch with you how to get you to your polls. That is what canvassing really has been about. And it was really something that could have been done for both Democrats and Republicans. In 2016, actually, I didn't have access to the voter rolls when I was the precinct chair for my precinct here. So I literally went to every door. And it was basically the same thing every single time. Hey, the election's coming up. Do you have any plans for voting? Do you need any assistance with voting? These are different organizations that can assist you with that. And even then it was a good experience. I didn't particularly campaign specifically for anyone, Bernie Sanders or whatever. Actually, oddly enough, there were a lot of Republicans that I knew were Republican based on, the Trump sign in the yard or whatever. But there were a number of them that were like, man, I wish Bernie Sanders was still the candidate. And it's like, yeah, well, you probably don't.
He's a surly old dude.
Yeah, he would have been. He's certainly older than Biden. I think he's older than Biden. He's
definitely older than Trump.
But Bernie Sanders just sort of had that get off my lawn sort of mentality that I think really spoke to a lot of the Republicans. I want to mention another thing that Trump apparently said recently, which was that he hates overtime. In a rally, he told the attendees of one of his recent rallies that he hates overtime, and when he was running his business, he would make sure to send the people home before they got to the point where he had to pay them overtime and bring in more people. That doesn't seem to me like a message that would speak very well.
He's back.
That doesn't seem to me like a message that would speak very well to a lot of his voters. And I guess from you guys, I don't know if you heard me, Zach, but what sort of reaction if you were an hourly employee and the guy you were supporting for president said, "I hate overtime. I hated paying overtime. I would make sure I would force people to leave and then force others to come in so that I wouldn't have to pay overtime."
Yeah, no, I mean, this is right in line with him. He's anti-union. I mean, the Republican Party has become so anti-labor. I mean, we're in the middle of a massive port strike right now with the International Longshoremen's Association. They have known for over a year that those guys were working without a agreed upon contract. And, it's going to take intervention from Biden, hopefully in the coming weeks to get this thing straightened out. But, the Republican Party is not the party of labor. They are not the party of working class America. And somehow they have managed to really get their claws into that voter base. And, people voting against their own best interests, like Zach had mentioned, the cognitive dissonance is so real. I just, I know that a lot of this comes from how I am. I run hard as a working class guy and a blue collar kind of candidate. I'm in program management and have a nice engineering job, but I had to work my way there. I didn't just get that. I spent 30 years doing some of the most undesirable jobs a person can do to get to where I'm at.
Yeah. You spoke about that on the podcast that you were on that aired yesterday.
Yeah.
Tell us the name of that podcast again. It's
No Shortcuts.
Yeah.
It's out of Rock Hill. Great podcast with Midas and Fame.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna interact with them. We're gonna do that. But I enjoyed it. But you talked a lot about that. How it took it took a lot. It wasn't instant. It wasn't just because you had a degree or a master's or anything like that from college, but that you had to start your way from basically the bottom in order to work your way up to the point where $100K salary is attainable if you're willing to put in the work. It doesn't just get handed to you. And I think for a lot of the people that have I guess their priorities aren't necessarily setting them on that path, they look at you, or they look at me, or they look at Zach, and they say, well, they're how is it that you got to that point? And it's through work. It's getting up every morning. It's putting on your socks and shoes, and brushing your teeth, and going out the door, and doing it on days.
Your comfort zone.
Yeah,
and for me, it was sacrifice. I've had to give up stuff that most parents will never know to have to give up, especially when it concerns time with my family. And you don't get unless you got to sacrifice something if you want to receive.
Yeah.
And some people are blessed to be born with the right last name, or to be born into some sort of legacy like Donald Trump. But a lot of us have to go make our legacy and make our way, and fill that silver platter up with our own efforts. So
this election,
I totally agree. Just to echo it, saying Barrett knows at least half of the struggle that I've gone through when it comes to, all right, you got to prove yourself, or you're at a place where you can't even prove yourself. You're never given the chance. You have the Donald Trump sympathizer type people who are overtime. You better tell me if you're even getting close to overtime.
Yeah.
the like I did warehouse work for over 10, 15 years, and then finally settled into a place where I could found my groove and started hitting it. And that's when I met Barrett. And then started finding just got a new job. I've been gone. Podcast, I've been gone. New job comes along. It
Yeah,
requires you to
no,
work a little.
congratulations. Listen, I up and lost my job, 5 months ago, 4 months
Yeah.
ago or whatever on a Friday afternoon. Like, what? So,
I
but
got
I got lucky. I'm at that point now in my career where I have a reputation, and 3 days later, my current employer had me in Chicago interviewing me for a job with them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah. I think one of the things that you all discussed on that podcast on the No Shortcuts podcast yesterday, and go check them out. I'll put links in the show notes. They're on YouTube. They record every Tuesday at noon. It's really good. But one of the things that you guys talked about was how you chose Fort Mill.
yeah.
There's in this campaign and in previous campaigns that you've run, one of the things that you get back as feedback, and I've seen it in the social media, is you're not from here. Speak a little bit to that, because I thought what you said yesterday in that episode was pointed at being so passionate about the situation.
Yeah, I mean, so this is kind of where I struggle sometimes, because we were just talking about victimhood, and I sometimes struggle with talking about this because I don't want people to think I'm trying to make myself a victim, but it can be frustrating running in a small town because you do have a big concentration of like born here locals who really don't agree with like leadership by anybody but them. And, I combat that. I had to learn over time how to kind of manage that, but it's, my family, we chose Fort Mill. We weren't fortunate enough to be born in that town, no, but we picked it. And my family is part of the fabric of that town. My wife's a teacher there. Both my kids graduated from the schools there and went on to great life after that. My daughter's serving in the United States Navy. My son is in his senior year at Winthrop University as editor-in-chief of the school paper. I've run for office now 3 times, did a toy drive for one of the poor communities in Fort Mill. I build in that town. I volunteer countless hours at town events. I do roadside trash pickup every year. I often, sometimes say that like Fort Mill doesn't understand that a lot of times they've won like the lottery when it comes to people moving there, not just with my family, but with, thousands of other families. We saw 132% population growth from census year to census year in that town. That far outweighs, anybody born there as far as sheer numbers go. And again, I just think it's kind of divisive to talk that way too. I don't think that's like proactive or a way to like move forward. So, I reject it on every level, but I'm not like mad. I mean, I get it, people, they see themselves as invested in that town because they were born and raised there and they've seen so much in their life of living there. And I get all that. It isn't, I've never been tried to be dismissive of that. I just, on its face value, I don't feel like I've warranted like this dismissal and, like you don't matter sort of treatment based on, the fact I came here from Florida almost 8 years ago.
So you had to fight a lot against like the gatekeeping of, Fort Millions.
Kinda, yeah, for sure. It seeps in. It's been pretty relaxed over the last about month here, but I mean, we had a flare up of some drama about a month ago that got a little frustrating for me. And you shouldn't like betray your weaknesses, but I will say that, I mean, that is one of the more frustrating things for me to have to deal with is when I'm having to like navigate that, because it takes a certain set of soft skills to like massage that with people and not.
Are we talking about the sign?
Well, that's totally ignoring any. So, like I tell Barrett all the time, good ideas are good ideas. That's ignoring good ideas.
Well, I'll just
because of where somebody's from.
I'll just say the way you've handled every situation has been with absolute grace, and I think just based on the interactions that you've had, I fully believe that let's say somebody who is diehard Republican, that after those interactions with you, I don't know how they walk away from that interaction and not go, you know what, this is the guy that I think should represent me, regardless of party affiliation. Like the way you handle those is immaculate.
I appreciate that. And I mean, it's tough. And I'm glad I got like you helping me out. And my wife is really great with this. But I mean, even you'll see her social media sometimes. She'll just get really pissed off one day and be like, you know what? I'm tired of y'all treating my husband like an asshole. He's a great guy. And I don't think you understand, the sacrifice he makes to do the things he does.
You're not sending her out there to do it, though.
No,
that's not a thing. So, I am inspired by your campaign. The potential is that I'll eventually, I likely will revisit the possibility of running for this district because, as it turns out, our district's represented by a pedophile, allegedly. I'll throw the alleged in there just in case. But
he's been seen allegedly at some Diddy parties.
But that's I think that your campaign has been run very well, and your messaging is terrific. Matt usually will send me something before he publishes it to look at or revamp it, and I'll be honest, I'm not an English major, but I think that I have a pretty good grasp on grammar and English language and how to use words to not manipulate, but to express something in a way that actually evokes an emotion from somebody. This guy does it.
Thank you.
And guys, I hate to cut it short, but I'm going to have to go proverbially strangle a 4-year-old. I don't know if he can.
Got balloons.
I don't know if he can hear it or not. But
well, hold on. Let me give you one of these again.
We'll give you some hearts. I can't. Mine's not working. Oh, is it for Zach too? What? Oh, it came on. All right, Zach. Thank you very much for being on the show. We'll give Zach some kudos for that later.
Good to be back, guys.
Yeah.
Next week I'll have internet.
Yeah, that's what we look forward to. Is you have an internet.
Yeah. All right, guys. Y'all be good.
Thank you, Zach.
See you, bro.
But yeah, I think if anything, that's the one of the things that I take away from that is that your interactions with people, regardless of party affiliations, I think that they have the ability to make someone recognize that because you speak with them you speak with them in such a human way that you have empathy for their situation. Even if it's been in disagreements, there is the way that you have responded has been empathetic to their situation. And I feel like there's such a good opportunity for them to go, that's the guy I want to represent me.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some of that, through my involvement with this solar plant they're trying to build.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of Republicans within that group that are very supportive of me and very excited to go vote for me on November 5th.
I think that's outstanding.
So, and I appreciate you noticing that and saying that. It gets frustrating sometimes because I do have these like long, prolonged conversations with people, and they're like, "Man, you've got this figured out, and you clearly, I know what's in your heart, but I'm a Republican," and it's like, son of a bitch, man.
Yeah,
let it go.
Yeah, it doesn't look. Republicans, Democrats, you don't have to let it define you. Just be a human being and vote based on what your heart tells you. And I think that we will elect people that have empathy and sympathy, and that can go to the state house or can go to Congress with those emotions and produce laws and create legislature that will actually make changes that benefit us as regardless of your democratic socialistic views or your conservative Republican, not conservative Republican, but conservative fiscal views. It can all be manipulated to work correctly and that's one of the things that we've suffered from in South Carolina for more than 20 years now, is that the people that are in charge are not representing the people that they come from. they are representing themselves. They are elected, and then they hold those positions thanks to redistricting, and have the ability to just continue to hold on to that power. And then they make their little bits of money on the side. And I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just saying we know that it happens. There are those that have been in power for so long that they don't relinquish that power. They make sure that they're right there when the maps are being redrawn to make sure that they cover every neighborhood they have to hold on to it. And
absolutely,
they benefit from it. And being a House representative that's also, a doctor or a lawyer or something like that, your name carries weight because you get to say, I'm Representative so and so.
Yep.
It isn't. That's not what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about making sure that the people that you represent are being taken care of, and you'll do that. I have the utmost belief that, one of the things that, and you talked about it on the podcast yesterday, was that when you get elected and when you are in session, you will have to basically become a contractor for your job so that you can continue to work, but that you'll be here in Columbia.
I'll need to honor my commitments to the people.
Right.
Yeah. And that'll be my priority for that legislative session. Is being a legislator.
But you'll be putting yourself in a position with your company where your priority is to the position that you've been elected to. And it'll just be temporary. You'll get to go back to being an employee when the session's over. But, that's a sacrifice.
Yes.
There's always that potential. Your employer could go,
we're not going to keep your contract.
Yeah.
And I lose all what little protections I have as a non-union employee. I lose those as a contract employee. I lose benefits. I lose really everything. But again, this isn't about me. It never really has been. I'm just happen to be the person, not or a person. I don't know. It's hard to explain sometimes, but it's not about me. It's about what I can do and the skills I have and my desire to want to mentor and bring in new talent and new leadership to the state and the county.
You're under the age of 50. Now, Matt recently had a birthday that we attended up in Fort Mill, and that was not your 50th, though, was it?
It was my 51st.
Yeah, I was gonna say your 50th was last year, but that's not the geriatric age of a lot of the representatives in South Carolina.
Correct. And I'm a young 51. Nobody ever thinks I look that old, and I certainly don't act that old.
No.
My wife likes to tease me about it all the time. She's like, that's always your answer when you meet somebody your age, is they look older than you. Well,
Do you tell people that I look older than you?
No, you're not that bad. We met somebody when we were in Niagara Falls, I remember, and he was a year younger than me, and my wife was like, oh my gosh. She's like, "That guy's a year younger than you." I said, "Yeah, man, I've held up pretty good."
I wanted to give you an opportunity because I wanted to take the opportunity. This week, now this episode, of course, comes out. I'm going to release it early, but we recently lost Chris Christopherson.
Yeah.
God,
one of the highwaymen.
Yeah.
We only got one left. Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson's it.
That's it.
And that's going to devastate me. I don't know how I may have to take off a week from work.
That's going to devastate a lot of country boys and girls.
But we lost Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah.
Did not know that he was sick.
It's been a weird week for deaths. John Amos, Dikembe Mutombo, Pete Rose. So for me, Pete Rose was my first athletic sports hero. Him and Bruce Jenner, of all people. I thought those two were that's what a boy wanted to grow up to be, a man like Pete Rose or Bruce Jenner. And to this day, I still frown on the Baseball Hall of Fame because they didn't let Pete in. It's just that hall has luster. It doesn't shine with Pete being left out. And I hope if they try to put him in posthumously, his family fucking rejects it. I'm sorry for
I don't
getting testy, but
I don't disagree. I still want that honor for him, though.
I do. So growing up in Tampa, when I did in the 70s and 80s, the Reds were still doing spring training in Plant City.
Okay.
So we didn't have baseball in Tampa until I was an adult. So I grew up liking the Reds and the Yankees.
Yeah.
And man, Charlie Hustle was my guy.
Yeah.
And man, but he's 83 years old. I mean, Pete lived a good life. I mean, he would always be showing up for games. Even though the Reds treated him like garbage, even when his kid played for the Reds, he'd come watch his kid play.
Yeah.
So.
Dikembe Mutombo was one that when I was in high school, my mother worked for a gymnastic retail company that had a number of their call service, their customer service and sales force were cheerleaders for the Hawks. And when Dikembe Mutombo was playing for the Hawks, my mother would get us tickets to the Hawks game. We were sitting like second and third row.
Nice.
Just off the floor.
Him and Dominique Wilkins,
Dikembe Mutombo, Spud Webb. But like, I still remember standing third row and on the riser, and the riser's like a good, I don't know, we're probably 2.5 feet up on the third row of the riser, and you stand up and Dikembe's still taller than you.
Oh yeah. We sat like second or third row from the floor at the Amway Center in Orlando and watched the Heat and Magic play a few years ago.
Yeah.
And that was incredible.
I went back and watched the Geico commercial that Dikembe did where he's in the grocery store. No.
He's like rejecting things.
It's such a good commercial. My hope is that they bring it back and just, rerun it sometimes. I don't see a lot of commercials anymore.
A loving tribute.
It was, but like watching him do that on the court when he'd go up and block a shot or something like that, he'd always just do that finger wag and no. Oh man, he was so entertaining, and I hate that he's gone. I guess the last thing that I do want to mention is that by the time this episode comes out, the Falcons and Tampa will have played
tomorrow.
Yeah. And I don't generally make bets on games. I'll make bets on like double games. Like if Tampa, if the Falcons won both of the games that we play against Tampa in the year, then it's a situation where I'm like, you have to shave your beard or I'll shave my beard. Now I do it too often. I do it too often for that to be valid.
Yeah, it would be a big deal if I shaved mine.
Yeah. No, and Matt tells me almost every single time he sees me without a beard, he's like, why'd you shave your beard?
He's got a great beard. He's got great facial hair. Grow that shit, man.
Yeah, and it covers up some of this that's going on the bottom too.
I get it. It keeps my turkey neck in check.
But yeah, I guess I didn't have anything planned, but I guess bragging rights. So Falcons, if the Falcons beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, then I will be willing to find a Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey and I will take a picture of it and I will put that as my profile picture for the remainder of the season after your election. If you're willing to do the same.
Yeah, I can do that.
I've got plenty of Falcons jerseys, so you don't have to find one.
I can do that. I don't know if I have a Bucs jersey that'll fit you, but
you know what?
And that ain't a slight.
No.
But an extra X in your.
But you know what? What's funny about that is that I did lose a bet several years ago where Georgia Tech and Clemson were playing. Clemson beat Georgia Tech, which they normally do, but it was a close game. Georgia Tech could have won it. I did have to wear somebody else's Clemson jersey, and it was a size medium. And that was the picture that I took. If I can find that picture, I'll send it to you. But it was I was a little bit more svelte back then, but it was still a very tight fit.
I don't know if I could get my big ass head through a medium neck hole.
It was there. I know there's a picture of it somewhere. Because it was, like I said, I was a little bit more svelte then.
Oh yeah, I'll
get myself down to it, but it was entertaining. So if you're willing to, we'll do that bet.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So if the Falcons win both games in the season against Tampa, and then vice versa, if Tampa wins both games in the season, then we'll switch jerseys or whatever. We'll do that. All right. We'll shake on it just because.
Yes, sir.
That seems most appropriate. All right, Matt. I really appreciate you. Please go ahead. You got something?
You got 7 questions for me.
We haven't ever done your 7 questions.
That's
Holy cow!
Right.
Well, then
I have been waiting for 7 questions.
I can't believe we haven't done that before. I
am ready.
you're gonna go to the phone just to make sure.
Well, I'll need to look up what I Googled.
Okay, all right. Well, then I'll go ahead and get started. What was the last thing that you Googled there, young Matt Vilardebo?
How to turn off that members also joined like group suggestion thing you get on Facebook now.
Oh, I think I must have turned that off already because I don't get that anymore.
God, I hate it. But
That's
that
good.
was the last thing I Googled like an old man.
You should see the things that I Google. Like not explicitly, but some of the things that I Google are like, how do I do something on Facebook, or how do I turn off a setting? I also Google specific formulas or I'll go to Chat GPT for specific formulas in Excel too. So, it's what I do. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
It would, if I could like cast a large net, I would say Wolverine's power set.
So you want the ability to heal quickly.
Yep.
Do you like the metal adamantium?
Nah, that's not really his power set.
No. So additionally in his power set,
he has like the heightened senses and stuff too.
Yeah.
So
I think
I would take, the Wolverine package.
I think I
got a lot of work to do. So if I can like live some extra years with the healing factor, I can get a lot done.
The healing factor also makes him very fit.
Yes,
because
I would get those abs.
It fights against the fat.
Eats the fat.
Number 3, if your life were a movie, what would it be titled?
Oh boy. So I'm going to go with Renegade. And the reason why is because there's a band called Head PE, a 90s new metal band that's still around. And they have a song called Renegade. And that song is like the song of me. So I've always been a big fan of that song and what it means. So I would say Renegade.
That was the name of the band?
Head PE is the name of the band. HEDPE.
Okay. Head PE. And it's Renegade. Okay. I was looking for there it is. I was trying to get the plug bell. All right. Number 4, if you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Can I say sushi?
Yeah.
Sushi.
What is there a specific type of sushi that you like?
I mean, I'm trying to cast a wide net, so I don't have to pigeonhole my.
That's fair.
I could say steak, and that like covers filet mignon, ribeye, and sirloin, right?
But like, is there a specific sushi? Like,
I love
fish?
tuna.
Okay. Do you like the spicy?
It can be spicy, not spicy. I take a glob of wasabi and like put it on each roll as I eat it. I don't do the little slurry.
I do the little slurry.
I don't do the slurry.
If I have a little bit too much wasabi, then you feel it in the back of your neck.
I like the wasabi hot because it's not like hot sauce that like paints your tongue in that like oily capsaicin.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just know that if I have too much wasabi, that there's no recovering from it immediately.
It clears out the sinuses real good.
It does. It does help with that. All right. Number 5. What is your least favorite candy and why?
Probably black licorice.
Okay.
It's just disgusting.
That's
I'm not going to say nothing. It's funny, David Robinson, probably one of my favorite appearances you've had is David Robinson saying he didn't like chocolate.
Yeah.
Because like my dad doesn't like chocolate either. And so it's like,
I wonder what that's about. Like what is it about chocolate for some people?
Maybe just a fear of deliciousness.
Oh, well, that's like Emily Mayer doesn't like chocolate and peanut butter combined.
Oh man, my wife is like goo for that. That's like her favorite combo. Is
it's some of the best
peanut butter.
And for the life of me, like I think I asked her, I was like, if your husband comes home with Halloween candy and like it's just all like chocolate, like Reese's peanut butter cups, what do you do? Like, I don't eat it. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I like that stuff too.
That is so foreign to me. It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense. All right, number 6. What is one strange or unusual talent that you have?
I have a photographic memory.
Do you?
Yeah, and people love that about me. As far as being a politician, that's very handy to have.
Yeah.
People are like, "Wow, good job," So
one of the. But how does that counteract with the Parkinson's? Because I know that with it doesn't at all. Because I know with some people that have Parkinson's,
cognitive can come later, but for me, I don't have much cognitive at all. So
that's good. That's good. All right. Number 7. And also photographic memories. So mine is almost photographic, But I also have, I think it's endemic. I'm forgetting the word. So clearly the dementia is offsetting the memory. Last question, number 7. If you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be?
So I'm going to go with what pretty much everybody else has said for number 1, and that's Barack Obama.
Okay.
I'm torn with number 2, but I'm going to say Corey Taylor. He's the lead singer for Slipknot.
Okay.
I think he's probably the most talented singer out there today. Has lived an incredible life. One of the most prolific bands in the history of music, and author, movie producer, actor. So Corey would definitely be at that table. And then I'm going to say Dusty Rhodes would be number 3.
Okay.
The son of a plumber, baby.
That's a pretty good list. One of these days I'm going to have to get Zach to ask me these questions, because I'll be honest, I've not ever thought about most of those answers, except like when I'm going through them. But that question about who would you eat, a meal with, dead or alive, that's one of those ones that people get a lot of insight into, I guess, the type of person someone is or whatever. I'd like to think that Jesus existed. I don't necessarily know about all the magic and stuff like that, but I think that I would go to Jesus, not necessarily because I just want to be in the presence, but I want to have a conversation with somebody who seems to represent all of these good-natured, humanistic, empathetic emotions that ultimately, like, just wanted so much to be able to make the world a better place. I want to have a conversation and be like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like,
I get it. I struggled with either Corey Taylor or Killer Mike, the rapper.
Oh yeah. I think Killer Mike's attainable.
He is, and Corey's attainable, but still, I mean, I think that'd be a great table to sit at and hear from those guys.
I'd want to sit down with Bernie Sanders and Killer Mike.
Yeah, that would be great.
I've seen them on
I've seen them on Bill Maher together.
Yeah. Always very entertaining.
Yeah.
So, well, I apologize. I guess the last time you were on, we didn't have the 7 questions.
No, that happened later. And I remember I was like, man, I want to do 7 questions.
Bill Kimmler says that shows my weakest journalistic skills.
I remember he was like really put off by those questions.
I thought Bill was hilarious.
Bill's always hilarious, man. Bill never... him and I are always like chatting back and forth.
Yeah.
And like he put out this visual piece where the Republican leadership over the decades has an F, and he like listed out all these statistics. And I was like, dude, that is bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, have at it if you want to use it. So I like redesigned it, and I was like, this is what I came up with. He's like, dude,
it was good.
You're bloody brilliant too.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to give too much detail, but Bill and I do have some plans for something coming up after the first of the year that is probably going to involve this podcast, and maybe a couple days a week going live from in the morning before we start doing our work. But just sort of a way to get our chops in there, like a live morning show for 30 or 45 minutes a day.
Yeah.
So that's something potentially to come.
You could will you be like a morning zoo, crazy nut hut?
No, it'll probably.
Hey, this is Barrett in the morning coming at you from Columbia.
It's very likely that we will not report the weather, because the weather is one of those things that I just gripe at every time I hear somebody doing the weather on the radio. I hear that and I'm just like, why are we wasting our time with that? If it's an event, I can go with an event. That's fine. But if you're just saying sunny skies today, high of 75, looking for lows tonight 32, I don't need that. My phone tells me
that's about all you get from the radio nowadays for the weather.
If it's a morning drive or an afternoon drive, traffic. That's what we need. Just report on, play music, play traffic. Music, traffic. That's all you need to do.
Get off at exit 8 if you're approaching exit 7.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, the last thing I want to say is happy birthday, Jimmy Carter.
Happy birthday, Jimmy Carter. You made it to the century note, brother. He went into hospice like a year ago, and he's still with us.
Out. And we lost his wife,
Rosalind. After
we lost her earlier this year, and he has hung around.
he's hanging out to make sure we get this right.
Well, ultimately, somebody said that he was sticking around just long enough to make sure that he could cast his vote for the first woman president, and I think that's admirable. And the fact that he's able to do it, I know I tell this all the time, but it was I'm 45 this year, so it was 26 years ago that I was doing volunteer work for Habitat for Humanity in Atlanta.
There you go.
And got to shake Jimmy Carter's hand twice.
Wow.
And he'd be out there swinging a hammer or moving, or carrying wood. And granted, he was 80 or 75 at that point. But this is a man that has been in service to this country for better than 60, 70 years. And
you talk about answering the call to serve. I mean, Jimmy Carter has answered the call to serve. And
he's one of those Democrats that even aged Republicans that I know have expressed that he was a good representative. He was a good president. That you could tell he was honest, that he used his hands to get where he was at.
Yep.
So happy birthday to Jimmy Carter.
Happy birthday, President Carter.
I wish I could shake his hand again one more time.
Yeah.
With the step up in security, Secret Service, I imagine they're probably not going to let me get very close.
No.
So, all right. That is going to do it for episode number 228. By the way, the Secret Service isn't necessary. Y'all can stop visiting my door. Thank you very much for Zach being able to show up. I'll just say Zach has been suffering the last couple of weeks. I know we talked about it, that Zach was in Greenville for his new job for 2 weeks. So he missed a couple episodes there. But then Hurricane Helene came through, and he was without power for the better part, actually since the storm up until yesterday. So even here in Columbia, there are neighborhoods that are still afflicted. Almost all points west of here are still have thousands and thousands of people without power. We have friends that have property up in Chimney Rock that no longer have property.
Yeah, I've got an aunt and uncle in Boone. They fortunately live up on a mountain. They were able to escape most of the flooding damage.
Yeah,
but they just got power back this morning. So, but the rest of Boone, it's bad, y'all.
Yeah.
It's tough to see for somebody who spent so much time up there.
I also want to shout out to the Casey West Columbia JCs. They host the the Hall of Horrors. Said it right that
Horrors.
time. They host the Hall of Horrors in down here in Casey at off of Walter Bryce Road. But I did talk to Shelby earlier this week. They were on their second trip up to Chimney Rock with gasoline, with water and food supplies that they had been taking up there, that the state of South Carolina, the JC's organization in South Carolina, has been collecting to take up to different locations in North Carolina to help with some of the victims that have been created. So
awesome.
Shelby, O'Shawn, Alex, the world thanks you for everything that you all are doing, and the JC's organization. So Hall of Horrors is open up Saturdays and Sundays through the remainder of October. So make sure to go check that out. Again, Matt, thank you very much for being on here. Matt Vilardebo, mattv4sc.com, still taking donations. Volunteers can come out and canvas as well. If there's any donations that people still want to make, the campaign definitely needs it, because
now it's time when the big bills are due.
Yeah. So check that out, Matt V4SC. You can follow him on social media as well. All the links there are on the website. I know, because I put them in there. Also, I guess the last thing I want to say is go Falcons, because
shitbirds. Yeah.
It's gonna be. This Thursday, which we'll have already happened by the time this comes out, is going to Tampa is obviously between Tampa and New Orleans. Those are the two teams to beat in the Southeast, and it's not going to be easy. And I'm hoping that the Falcons are not so young with their staff that they can do it. I mean, Kirk Cousins is obviously raising the age bar.
Yeah.
But that's, if we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right. Again, thanks, Matt, for being here.
Thank you, sir.
And driving all the way down from Fort Mill because I imagine you got some things done, though.
Yep. Went to SDC, South Carolina Democratic Party headquarters, met up with a couple of them and talked about some things we're trying to work on.
Perfect. All right. Well, links to past episodes, podcast platforms, merchandise, and social media available at our website, theallaboutnothing.com. And if you think our financial model of giving away free content and entertainment is silly and you're in the giving mood, why not become an official Nothinger? Support the show monthly. Members get early access to this episode as well as exclusive content, or you can make a one-time donation through the same link. If you'd like to be excuse me. Choked on my own words. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can call and leave us a message, 803-672-0533, or you can email the show at theallaboutnothing.com, or you can join our Discord server. Links available at theallaboutnothing.com. I'll say it for Zach. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Stay safe, be kind, and keep your hands to yourself.
Mind your own damn business, too.
The All About Nothing podcast is produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow everything Cake the band at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff the producer for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the producer. I am Barrett Gruber. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Barrett Gruber, or visit my linktree /Barrett Gruber. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com, and become a member. There are several tiers available, including memberships that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. Visit theallaboutnothing.com. Find links to our social media, merchandise, and past episodes. Visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be heard on the show, you can call and leave us a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our partner podcast. Zach and I host What the Pod Was That with Carrie Simmons. Visit whatthepodwasthat.com for links and details. Me takes a deep dive down the rabbit hole in episodes of Welcome to Wonderland. Available on all the podcast platforms. Visit WTWLpod.com for details. As well, you can listen to the political and social conversation between Dr. Jamela Brooks and Bill Kimmler on Black, White, and Blue in the South. Available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please like and hit the notification bell. Thank you for listening. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media and copyright 2024, all rights reserved.